The purpose of the Global CFO Council is to provide an educational and networking forum for senior financial executives in order to share best practices, discuss current financial issues, and to learn about current topics related to the performance of their jobs. Membership is open to senior financial executives including CFOs, financial VPs, and treasurers. We hope that you'll become a member of the Global CFO Council today. To join, please visit the membership tab at globalcfocouncil.com.
Matt, I don't know if you heard, I feel like you did. Both Matt and Lisa have thwarted the best part of these presentations is where I introduce you. I think L'Oreal from the IMA may have shared that I find out information on the interwebs about the speakers and then I share it because it was lean. I mean, lean. Like somebody had scrubbed your online profiles. I don't know if the IMA doesn't allow you to exist digitally, but I have found lame information. I found a ton about L'Oreal, and that was fun. But audience, I'm just going to tell you now. I don't have pictures, graduation pictures, or wedding photos, or anything like that. So, Lisa Bodine, no, Bowden. I messed it up.
That's okay. That's okay. Everybody does.
Is the Senior Director of Business Development at the IMA. And before that, I think you were leading the Educational Partnership team. Before even the IMA, looks like you were at Cleary University and the Ford Motor Company and IBM. I think you're hailing out of Michigan. And I've got some Michigan fans at work. They're unbearable. Hopefully you are a bearable Michigan fan. Undergraduate from, appropriately, Michigan business degree, MBA from the University of San Diego. Clearly you escaped and got to good weather. And it looks like you are a lifelong learner. I saw all types of certificates and additional training, so it is clearly appropriate. You are leading adult education, and you are a super volunteer in a long list of organizations, and it looked like Schoolcraft College was one of them. And I am very excited to have you here, Matt Workman, Manager of Strategic Partners at the IMA. I think you're near me in South Kakalaka, Fort Mill, South Carolina. Is that correct, sir?
That is accurate.
Before that, I saw some stints at Becker and Wiley. And undergraduate in journalism from UCF, which I think UCF, I was born in Florida, has taken over half the state. I believe there's 252,000 students at UCF now. Is that correct? Is it 253,000 or a million students?
That seems a little high, but it is just the first stage in our plot to take over the world. You're correct.
MBA from DeVry, and these are things I'm not sure are true at all. I hope they're true, and just go with me. You can even lie. No one will know if they're not true. I think either maybe you or your son or both of you play golf.
That could not be farther from the truth, Robert. I'm not a golfer at all.
That will be edited out of the final video. No one will ever know. All right. Well, I have a long list of facts that are clearly not true. They're about another Matt Workman who is very passionate about golf. Lisa and Matt, I am super excited to have you here. I'm going to mute myself and just sort of monitor the Q&A in the background and then hit you up with some questions later on in the presentation.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Robert. And welcome to today's session. We're really pleased to be presenting to you today on the topic of building a future-ready finance team. Robert already introduced us. My name is Lisa Bowden, and while I did a stint in San Diego, I am back in Michigan, so I came back to the bad weather, but we're having a beautiful fall here. I'm happy to report. And I'm pleased to have Matt Workman, my colleague, with us today. And he's worked with a lot of companies to develop solutions. We work together to develop solutions for training and developing your finance and accounting staff. And we're pleased to have two special guests with us today. Brandy Bonds and Sarah Gelb. Brandy is a managing partner for Next Level Now. It's a professional services company that provides its clients with outsourced accounting teams led by a CFO. Sarah Gelb is a finance director for learning and development with Johnson & Johnson's Global Finance Talent Management Organization. And in that role, Sarah oversees various financial leadership programs for both entry-level and mid-career level professionals. We'll be hearing from both Brandy and Sarah during today's presentation, and I'm really excited for you to hear how these organizations, which are very different in size and in their missions, but how they both have embraced continuous learning and are delivering that to their finance and accounting staff. So here's a quick overview of what we'll be covering today during our session. We'll start with details on the factors that are influencing and impacting the accounting and finance profession. We're seeing a lot of changes, and we'll be talking about what's driving a lot of those things. We'll share some approaches to addressing the challenges, and then ask Brandy and Sarah to share their perspectives with us. And at the end, we'll have time for questions and discussion with the audience. As Robert mentioned, please feel free to type things into the chat throughout the presentation. He'll be monitoring it and bring different questions to our attention at that time. So I'd like to start off with some information about some megatrends. IMA released a report. It spotlights some of the major trends anticipated for the finance and accounting profession. The report includes 6 megatrends, as we call them. They're factors that are shifting the focus and dynamics on the profession. And many of these trends that I'm going to speak about, they're things that we're hearing about, and we've been hearing about now for a while, especially with COVID in place too. But they're likely to grow in importance as organizations continue to deal with the impact of the pandemic. They face challenges in implementing technology. They're responding to demands for a diverse workforce and managing threats posed by climate change and environmental issues. So let's get started. And Matt, this does animate, so I'll just click one at a time. So the first mega trend focuses on the physical workplace itself. I think we've all learned that over the past few years that remote work has taken hold as a way that we can manage business during the pandemic, and it's working even beyond that, right? So work from home has become accepted, and there's a realization that we actually can have productive employees who are working remotely. The second mega trend is related to environmental, social, and governance, or ESG, often referred to as. And this is growing in popularity. It has grown in popularity as more companies are trying to demonstrate that they are responding to climate change and social issues in response to investor demands for greater accountability. ESG issues have to be effectively managed, or they could have a negative impact on a company's performance and reputation. The third mega trend relates to enterprise risk management. I think you all know that the role of the CFO is expanding. You're not just the numbers person anymore. You're looking very strategically at the entire organization. So accounting and finance professionals are being held accountable for enterprise risk management. And with ERM, you're trying to take that big strategic top-down view and identify risks to the organization before they occur so that you have a plan in place to manage or mitigate them. The next mega trend is related to the workforce, diversity, equity, inclusion. We have been hearing a lot about this, right? And it's becoming a competitive differentiator for organizations, in addition to being the right thing to do. Organizations are seeing a greater need to increase their diversity efforts, and DE&I are critical differentiators for companies and organizations. The next one, number 5, is automation. It's going to continue at an accelerated pace. And while the tasks that were automated in the past in the finance function used to be primarily repetitive tasks, we're now seeing bots, not physical robots, but automated processes being programmed with artificial intelligence and machine learning so that they can complete the quarterly forecast, for example, better than a whole team of degreed and credentialed professionals. So you can expect this automation journey to continue. Companies and their CFOs continue to invest in the future, build their talent pipeline, and invest in technology. And the final megatrend, the 6th one, is related to human resources and focusing on your team. It's about the acquisition of knowledge, skills, and competencies. There'll be greater demand on upskilling and continuing education for professionals. Technology is a factor here. It's moving so quickly that it's causing a reduction of jobs at the lower end as things become more automated or more efficient. And as those jobs become automated, transaction processing, routine, repetitive types of jobs will get replaced by higher value-added analytical types of jobs. And that's where we want to help you to move those professionals up in their skill set so that they can be performing at that higher level. So on the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about the impetus for transformation. We here at IMA are hearing a lot from our members about finance transformation, even business transformation. It seems like every company is involved in some type of transformation project, and just the size and scope of it just depend on the budget for the company and the size of the company. And why is this happening now? Well, the accelerated pace of change, as you see there on the left, and the technology advancements are increasing the accessibility of data, and they're forcing businesses to operate in a more competitive landscape. And as a result, business leaders are demanding more of the finance function. I'm sure you're all seeing that. They seek agile, data-backed insights and elevated strategic decision support. So they are looking for some sophisticated data analysis to support business decisions. And this demand gives rise to functional transformation. While it's often characterized solely by digital transformation because of the need for functional teams to leverage digital technology, in many respects, there's an even greater focus on the talent pipeline, specifically ensuring the presence of a diverse talent pool and teams equipped with the right technical capabilities and leadership and people skills. We're demanding a lot of our employees, and we're going to help you and tell you about different ways that you can help to develop them in these different ways. So let's look now at how the CFO function has been evolving over time. The accountants and analysts used to be very functionally siloed, focusing on creating reports, ensuring compliance. But most finance functions now have moved toward becoming business partners and have been probably for quite some time. They're working with the rest of the organization, really understanding the overall business. They have a more forward-looking perspective, and they're considering the alignment of the overall business. And some organizations are even moving a step further to a point where we consider the finance team to be strategic enablers. Meaning that they're using technology to transform the finance function and even business functions in some cases to make them more efficient. They're also using technology tools to harness large amounts of data and to support good business decisions, because that's a really key role of the internal finance function, right? Is to not just create the external reports, but also to support good business decisions for the overall organization, to support the strategy and the advancement of the organization. So on the next slide, how do you develop your finance team to become better business partners and move toward the strategic enabler role? It's by investing in them, right? So building a future-ready finance team that can effectively partner with and support other areas of the business means that they have to have a solid accounting and finance foundation. That's a given, right? Table stakes. Strong business acumen is important. And they also have to have skills and competencies in many other areas, including soft skills, the leadership skills, sometimes overlooked when you're going through a traditional accounting or finance education, right? You want to make sure they know all the technical skills, but those leadership skills, the soft skills, are so important, and they often change throughout an individual's career, right? The soft skills required as an entry-level professional are much different than when you become a mid-level and a senior level individual. So now I'd like to turn things over to Matt, who's going to provide some details on how we can help you to develop your teams.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. And can you hear me okay? Coming through loud and clear? Great. So those are some of the challenges and opportunities that everyone is facing, but now I'd like to share some details about how IMA, Institute of Management Accountants, can help support your efforts to develop your finance team of the future and some of the resources that we can provide. So for those of you who aren't familiar with IMA, we are a nonprofit association, a global association with about 140,000 members around the world. Our members are accounting and finance professionals, generally working on that CFO's team with companies and organizations. So corporate finance professionals, people that work for the Chief Accounting Officer and CFO. We serve these members through 10 global offices that you see here, with our headquarters being in the United States in Montvale, New Jersey. And we aim to be the leading resource for developing, certifying, connecting, supporting the world's best accountants and finance professionals in business. And that's our differentiator. Our members work in business. We do that not only with professional certifications like the CMA, which we'll talk about in a moment, but also with education courses, career resources, research, publications, well-known industry events like our big annual conference that Robert spoke at earlier this year. So we have a network, a global network, like I said, of professional and student chapters throughout the world. These chapters have regular networking events, meetings, guest speakers, often offering continuing professional education opportunities, but also these chapters on a local level really just provide a way to stay connected to your peers within the profession. So for our corporate partners specifically, we offer what we call the IMA Finance Academy, which is just a fancy way to kind of encompass all the tools and resources that we can provide you as an organization as a solution to some of the issues that Lisa mentioned earlier. So here's kind of a very high-level overview. Employees that would choose one of two tracks: an IMA membership track, which is an annual membership to the IMA, Institute of Management Accountants. It means those employees get access to courses, webinars, research on best practices, networking opportunities. They get to join a chapter if they so choose, more. These resources can help us create a growth and learning culture within our organizations, which, as Lisa mentioned, is so important right now to provide that benefit to your staff. And then employees can also choose the CMA track. The CMA is Certified Management Accountant certification, which is our trademark certification that we are well known for. People who enter that CMA track also enjoy all the resources and offerings that are available to employees on the IMA membership track, because you do need to become a member to then enter the CMA program, but they'll also be enrolled as a CMA candidate. I'll go into some details on the CMA exam. Some of you on the call might already be CMAs yourself. Others are not, but perhaps it's a good time to think about professional certification, if not for yourself, for members of your team. And just to give you an idea of the costs, which are not listed here, to be an IMA member, we're talking about $200 a year annual membership. So it's not a significant investment. It's money well spent on all the resources that you have available. If you have other certifications like a CPA, we offer enough CPE credits and webinars to fulfill your obligations for renewing your license and other credentials, all for about $200 a year. And then for CMAs, there are additional fees, obviously, with entering the CMA program, exam fees, review materials, and everything that goes along with it. But out the door to become a CMA, if you do it right, we're looking at about $2,500 a candidate to pass both parts of the exam and then to become certified, which is a very good investment, particularly compared to an MBA or some of the other certifications or degrees that are available. So just tell you a little bit more about these resources that are available. Some of your staff, I'm sure, are not ready to pursue the CMA. It's a big investment of time, resources, but IMA is also a very prolific developer of training content that is needed for financial transformation as well as upskilling. Here are some just examples of IMA's most popular courses that we have right now that maybe some of your employees could benefit from. Just to be specific, IMA's course development, it's driven by our research and by what we call our management accounting competency framework. And these are the skills that our research team evaluates on a regular basis that we think are necessary for accounting and finance professionals to be relevant and to be efficient in today's environment. So we've specifically designed these courses for finance and accounting professionals. And that's important because a lot of the courses that you may see out there on LinkedIn Learning or Coursera, they're a little more general in nature, right? They can apply to people in all professions. But when you take these courses, although blockchain could be important to a number of different roles and a number of different professions, this particular course is specific to accounting and finance professionals. And the examples and the case studies used within these courses are from accounting and finance scenarios. So you'll see some certificate programs that we offer as well that are a little more extensive with the time and learning involved. Okay, so this slide here shows the content of the CMA exam. When we talk to finance leaders, they continually tell us that these are the skills we need from our staff. So again, this content is constantly evaluated, revamped, and made applicable to today's accounting and finance world. You'll see part 1 is titled Financial Planning, Performance, and Analytics. You see it's very accounting oriented, right? It starts with a section on financial accounting, and then the next 3 sections, planning, budgeting, and forecasting, performance management, cost management, draw on your managerial and cost accounting experience. There's a section that focuses on best practices for internal controls. And then there's that section at the end, technology and analytics. And this was just added to the CMA exam in 2020. And this section covers topics like data mining and governance, technology-enabled finance transformation, data analytics, data visualization. And I do want to just mention here, you don't need to be an IT professional to be successful on this part of the exam. You're not being tested on any very specific enablement tools like Power BI or Tableau. It's more making sure professionals have an awareness of how some of these tools are transforming the finance function and how they can be used to build more efficient processes within your organization. Part 2, if you can see that here, it's titled Strategic Financial Management. Again, 6 sections, starting with financial statement analysis, moving on to corporate finance, and then decision analysis. And that's when you're looking at how adjustments to cost, volume, and profit will impact the bottom line. You see risk management, that's enterprise risk management, and that focuses on internal and external risks to the organization, putting plans in place to address and mitigate those risks. And then finally, professional ethics. Oh, investment decisions, missed that one. Primarily focused on capital budgeting, cost of capital, and discount cash flow models. And then professional ethics, which of course, very important to the profession, very important to IMA. We develop a number of ethics courses each year, and those are always made free to our members. We realize the value that ethics holds and how important it is to our members. Each exam is 4 hours long. You can take either one first, part 1 or part 2. So if you feel more comfortable with the corporate finance topics in part 2, you can sit for that exam first. Each exam consists of 100 multiple choice questions, followed by 2 30-minute essay scenarios. Very manageable, right? All right, and then just to tell you a little bit about the program requirements, the hard part is passing those 2 exams. The easy parts are having a bachelor's degree. You can do that from any major, which is different from a CPA license where you need a specific number of credits in accounting and 150 hours. For the CMA certification, you need a bachelor's degree from any accredited school, 2 years of relevant work experience. If you don't already have 2 years of relevant work experience, you have up to 7 years of passing the exam to earn that work experience. So again, not a concern. And then you need to be an active member in IMA. So obviously the hard part here is getting through those 2 exams. And This is a special offer that we'd like to mention. It's something relatively new to offer CMA candidates as they prepare for the exam. So for those companies that have 12 or more candidates preparing for the CMA, we can offer a guided what we call a guided self-study program. So it's customized to your organization. We can offer it on the days of the week and the times that are convenient to you. It's an instructor-led, structured course to prepare your candidates and supplement what they're already using in terms of their exam review materials. Essentially, the majority of the candidates that study for the CMA use a review course provided by a third-party vendor like a Becker, a Gleim, a Wiley, which is great. They give you all the resources you need to be successful on the exam, but what they don't have is that structure and that person to ask questions to when there are topics that you don't understand or that you could use a little assistance on. And that's what this course provides. It operates over about 10 to 12 weeks where candidates meet for a couple hours each week with an instructor virtually that IMA provides at no additional cost. So it's relatively new, like I mentioned, but the early returns have been tremendous. The feedback has been great, and candidates have been able to stay on track and be successful on the exam. And if you don't have 10 to 12, that's a large number. We understand. Johnson & Johnson, they're going to have more than that. But smaller organizations, if you have 1, 2, 3 candidates, we're happy to combine those candidates in one of our existing cohorts and get them involved and get them the same level of support that we provide large organizations. So those classes are going to be starting late January, early February for the next round, preparing students or candidates for the May-June testing window. And we're going to provide our contact information. If you're interested in more information on this program, we'll certainly be able to provide that for you and meet with you and discuss it. Here's just a sample of some of the companies that we have partnered with at IMA on some level to upskill their finance and accounting teams. You'll see a number of these companies that have participated in that guided self-study program and others that have used our resources for ethics or for upskilling in our certificate programs or taking advantage of some of the research that IMA offers. So at this point, I'm going to hand it back to Lisa, and she will introduce representatives from 2 of the companies that you see here on this slide, and they're going to share details about their learning and development efforts.
Well, thank you, Matt. So again, I want to reintroduce our panelists. We do have Brandy Bonds from our managing partner at Next Level Now with us today, and also Sarah Gelb, who is Finance Director for Learning and Development as part of Johnson & Johnson's Global Finance Talent Management team. So I have a few questions for them because I think you're going to be very interested in hearing some of the things they have to say about their experiences, the culture at their companies related to professional development and learning, how they're implementing different types of development related programs at their companies. And we specifically wanted to provide you with an example from a very large company, but also a much smaller company, because this can be done at any size organization. It's really sort of that tone at the top that you're setting as a leader, saying that professional development and having a growth learning mindset is important at our company. So I'm going to start with Sarah. To open it up, I'm going to start with the same question for them, but we'll start with Sarah first. And so Sarah, tell us a little bit about your role at Johnson & Johnson, as well as your company's perspective on finance talent development.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. Thanks, everyone, for having me today. As Lisa mentioned, my name is Sarah Gelb. I'm the Finance Director for Learning and Development at Johnson & Johnson within our Global Finance Talent Management Group. I've been with the company for 5 years, and a little fun fact is that I joined through our MBA Leadership Development Program, which is now a program that I design the curriculum for and manage. So a full circle moment for me. During the 4 years of this MBA Leadership Development Program, I also became CMA certified. But my team manages all things learning and development for the global finance organization. And we actually roll up through our CFO. So we are finance employees. I know not every company has this sort of orientation of their learning and development group, but that's how we do it. Some of our responsibilities include developing and implementing curriculum for 3 main programs. So that would be our finance leadership development program, which is early in career talent. They receive 5 weeks of training over 2.5 years. Our finance managers development program, which is an accelerator program for high potential finance managers looking to accelerate readiness to director, which is 3 weeks of live training a year. And then, as I mentioned, we also have our MBA leadership development program, which sort of takes bits and pieces of all the best learning and development within the company and within finance and brings that together for those cohorts. We also manage the virtual curriculum for global finance, which includes, managing a partnership with Becker, which is, to ensure that J&J Finance has access to robust and relevant courses for CPE credits once they become CMA certified. And then from a more strategic perspective, we manage our global finance competency model. So this is really looking at what are the key skills and competencies that global finance employees at all levels of the organization need to develop for not only now, but also 3 to 5 years in the future. So kind of signaling to the organization, these are the skills that we're looking for. And then we kind of bring that all together with, the various development resources that we have. Something to note is, while we're rotational in culture, both within the programs that we manage and outside, we do believe that all employees have to take ownership of their careers, but it's our responsibility to provide the framework and resources to enable success. So for them to identify strengths and development areas, but also those resources to build additional skills and competencies for their current and even future roles. So we're really strong proponents of the 3 E's: education, exposure, and experience. So education, I've just mentioned, we have a multitude of training resources, both, live and asynchronous. Exposure, we have a heavy mentoring culture. And so, my team more broadly helps sort of facilitate many of the mentoring programs that we have at J&J. And then from an experience perspective, of course, we have job rotations and different experiences you can get in your roles, but we also have something called grow gigs, which are sort of short-term assignments designed to give you, experience and frankly exposure in a different area. So as an example, if I'm a finance employee and I want to go to commercial insights, or I'm making it up, marketing, I could look for a grow gig in those areas, and it could be 20% of my time for 3 months as an example, and it would help me build an understanding of what's required to succeed in those areas. So that's a quick summary of our development at J&J.
Thanks, Sarah. A lot of things that you are responsible for, and it's interesting to hear that you do roll up through the finance function, because you don't always see that, right? Often learning and development is part of the HR function. It's sort of separately, or it's matrix somehow. So you can see that at Johnson & Johnson, developing the finance talent is extremely important, and the CFO wants to have direct oversight and ownership for that. So that's good. You mentioned the competency framework, and we didn't mention it in our presentation, but IMA has a management accounting competency framework, and I think we've compared ours before too. Ours is generic, not specific to any industry or size of company. So we'd be glad to provide that to you. Matt and I can follow up if anybody's interested in that. We encourage companies, especially companies that don't have the resources like Johnson & Johnson to create their own finance competencies, to lean on IMA. And this is something you can do even if you're not an IMA member. Take a look at our competency framework and pull out what's relevant to your company, create your own competency framework. So thanks, Sarah. And Brandy, same question for you. Tell us a little bit about your role at Next Level Now, and your company's perspective on finance talent development.
Great. Thank you for having me. So I'm the managing partner at Next Level. I joined Next Level about 10 years ago as a CFO. So we started our firm providing fractional CFO services to pretty much $100 million or less companies in revenue. And about 6 years ago, decided that we wanted to grow and develop accounting talent within our own organization to be able to provide a team to our clients. So I shifted out of the CFO role, still sometimes in it, and we built a full training program about 6 years ago where our core values at Next Level have always been, whether we were CFO advisory or in our new, we call it our SOAR program, and it's learning, growing, and doing. So everything we do at Next Level is in spirit of learning, growing, and doing, both within our own core of employees as well as with our clients. So we work really hard to challenge our team to think and find solutions to solve our clients' problems. And just like Sarah, we do believe that it's up to the employees to find their own career, but we provide them opportunities. So we are much smaller than Johnson & Johnson. We're 30 people strong, and we service many different industries and many different clients. But what we've done is we've developed 8 levels of accountants. So we provide a framework of move up, similar to the IMA competency framework. When we saw that, we were so excited because we had built that framework in advance through our job descriptions. We have 8 levels of accountants, 4 levels of controllers, 3 levels of FP&A analysts, and 4 levels of CFOs. One thing we recognize is not all people are created equally. So we wanted to be able to build our job descriptions and training requirements and demonstrated mastery at each level in order for people to move up. Because one common thing I saw growing up in the world of doing this over 20 years, people just saying, oh, I want a promotion. I've been here for a year. Well, that is not what Next Level really subscribes to. We believe in being a meritocracy and providing advancement through adding merit and being able to add value to your job. So we create a platform in which for people to learn both on technology, technical accounting, and EQ. So that was interesting to hear early on. We host trainings where we bring our staff from all over the country. We bring the staff together face to face twice a year, as well as monthly. We call it our Learn and Grow series, where we'll pick out topics, either technical accounting, management and leadership, or technology is really heavy for us. So part of our demonstrated mastery is certifications and training around the core technology tools that our clients use or we use internally. So that's Next Level, and everything we do is all around learning and development.
That's great. It sounds like it's very obvious both of these companies are very focused on learning and development. And it's interesting. I think you have very similar philosophies, maybe just different terminology. Johnson & Johnson, education, exposure, experience. And at Next Level, it's learning, growing, doing. They sort of align, don't they? Yeah. And I think you can all see that there's this framework too that they're looking at competencies. So as accountants, we all like to, accounting, finance people like to be very analytical and have a framework, a model that we're working off of. And this really, it should have some type of a model so that you can measure how you're doing, how people are doing, how they're moving up in their acquisition of skills and competencies. So the next question is just for Sarah, and I know you've already talked about Johnson & Johnson's commitment to professional development, but I know that Johnson & Johnson and IMA have had a decades-long relationship, and it's very focused on the CMA, the Certified Management Accountant certification. I know you're a CMA. I'm also a CMA. Can you tell us a little bit specifically about Johnson & Johnson's support and dedication to the CMA certification.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, we pride ourselves in offering programs that help our employees grow professionally, personally, gain hands-on experience, and make a positive impact. So to that end, last year, we published a global professional certification policy that supports J&J employees globally to pursue relevant professional certifications, sort of further solidifying our dedication to that professional development. And as Lisa mentioned, right, we have um, a long partnership with the IMA, and our partnership with the IMA positions finance employees to bring value to our organization, both within finance and more broadly, by pursuing the CMA, which allows them to own their strategic thinking skills, provide expertise in emerging areas, like Matt mentioned, data analysis and technology, and pursue a commitment to continuous learning by, this sort of continuing professional education requirements. So while a certification is not required for employees, it is highly recommended. So there's no job positions where a CMA is squarely a necessity, but it does serve as a differentiator. So if you're viewing two people of equal experience for the same job, someone who has a CMA, that might be a differentiator. And again, like we definitely recognize the value in continuing education to keep your certification current. And I did want to share just a few data points. And as a note, you can find all of this in an article that my front fill, my predecessor in the role, Mike Stiani, worked on in partnership with the IMA. I believe it's in Training Magazine. Maybe we can send out the link after. But just some quick stats, and this is relating specifically to our early in career finance leadership development program. 15% of active employees who are in the program or graduated from the program hold a CMA. 73% of active employees who hold a CMA have been promoted at least once outside of FLDP, compared to just 55% who don't have a CMA. And then like our commitment to professional development, I think helps solidify some commitment back to J&J. So FLDP graduates who have earned their CMA, 60% of them have remained within the company. So a little bit of a higher retention rate there as well. So we clearly believe that ensuring employees are always learning can help us position ourselves for continued success, and help us retain employees and attract sort of the best in the future. So we definitely value our partnership with the IMA, and see the value really in our folks pursuing a CMA.
Thanks, Sarah. And I think you can, I love the data points that Sarah shared, because you can see that investing in your employees is going to it's going to influence retention rates, and it's going to influence their chances for advancement. And it's not just because you look at it and say, oh, that person's a CMA, they need to get promoted. It's because that person has spent a lot of time honing their skills and competencies, and they come to the table very confident. They're asking really good questions. I mean, they're able to contribute more and add more value, and as a result, they're more promotable too over time. So Brandy, at Next Level Now, your company decided to partner with IMA for professional development and other benefits. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're seeing there and what you're hearing from your employees, and what are some of the benefits of that they're really taking advantage of by being affiliated with IMA?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our team members, like I had mentioned earlier, are all over the country. So for us, it was important. We were remote before the pandemic. So for us, it was really important to find an organization or a group where we knew that the content being provided would be really beneficial to our staff, and that we could rally behind with networking events and education events where people could get out of their home. Most of our people work from home, and those that went through the pandemic, myself included, recognize that it's important to leave the house sometimes and be able to talk to other human beings face to face and learn. So we wanted to be able to provide access to quality networking educational events, to be able to learn from other solid management accounting professionals. Additionally, on the IMA, when our folks join, we give them all a membership. Some of our team members, when they first get hired with us, come from the CPA realm, and they don't really understand what a CMA is. And once we explain the differences and give them that membership, we see excitement because they have a framework. Most don't want to do taxes. They really want to help small businesses grow. That's why they join us, and they like variety. So they're able to access different online information and whatnot to be able to help further themselves and their clients. The third thing that we use very heavily, which we did not intend on utilizing as much as we do prior to having our partnership, was that IMA competency framework. When we do our leveling system, when we hire someone on board, it's relatively, I don't want to use easy, but easier to assess at the accountant level. Controllers and CFOs sometimes have a skewed perception of where they really lie on that framework. So we've been able to use that framework to be able to have our controllers and CFOs take an honest look about where they are and create a development plan for themselves in order to get to the next level. So it was an unintended benefit that we gained through the IMA, and we found it very beneficial. And we've had CFOs coming back to us saying, okay, I understand now why I'm a level 1 CFO, and this is what I need to do to become a level 2. And again, we work on a development plan and program, and they can move as quickly or as fast as they want, as well as long as they develop that mastery around that. So those are really the 3 main benefits. And then we do have staff that are going through the CMA. We do sponsor it, we encourage it, and we have, I think, 3 or 4 right now going through the program. One is testing on Saturday, so I'm going to cross my fingers for him. I told him to take 2 days off just to cram because he's a little nervous. But we are very grateful to the IMA and the support that differentiates us from the CPA firm, which is our traditional comparative business, which we are not. We are management accountants.
Thanks, Brandy. So I wanted to mention both Johnson & Johnson and Next Level have CMA candidates going through that guided study program. Johnson & Johnson, because of its size, actually has 4 separate sections because they have global finance staff going through it. So they've got their own cohorts running at all different times of the day. And I think that we have probably 60 to 80 people or more right now who are studying for it globally, whereas Brandy has a handful. So we put her people into a blended cohort with other companies. And the competency framework keeps being mentioned. So Matt and Robert, we will make sure that gets sent out to everybody in the follow-up email. And so I wanted to open it up. We have a few minutes to take some audience questions. So Robert, I know you were monitoring the chat. Let me know if you got some good questions ready for us.
I do. I have a bunch. I've got like 10 and we've got like 5 minutes. So I'll hit you rapid fire. Yes and no are perfectly acceptable answers if that would cover it. First question is around any data on the difference that a certification like the CMA can have on pay and promotion.
Yes, I can take that from the IMA standpoint. We do conduct a salary survey, usually on an annual basis, and it's done by region of the world. I will just focus on the US market because I think everybody here is from the US market. And we slice and dice it because we're management accounts. We slice and dice this many different ways by age, by years of experience, by years of educational level, et cetera. But in general, each year when we do this, we find that people who hold a CMA in general are going to earn somewhere in the 25 to 32% more per year than a non-certified accountant. So certification is a differentiator in pay, and you should be paying more for your certified accountants. They should be bringing more value to the table. Now, CPAs are also going to be in that higher level, and then you have some people who hold both a CMA and CPA. You should be paying more for the certified accountant. So that's from the IMA standpoint. I don't know, Sarah or Brandy, do you have anything to say about pay related to a certified individual?
I muted them, so we don't have time to answer.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you my next question is, one of the megatrends was around remote work. Does the IMA have any resources around a checklist or best practices when you've got dispersed remote teams?
We don't have a checklist for that, but I know that there are a lot of things out there, and I've been reading some things lately about, especially onboarding the new remote employee. That's a challenging one, isn't it? When somebody at least has been in the office and knows the culture and knows the other people, that's a lot. It's the transition to remote work can be a lot easier. So I know there's some best practices around it. What I've been reading is over communicate, have a lot of touch points with that new employee. A tip I just saw this week was plan their first week. Make sure that they're meeting with a lot of people from all different parts of the organization, get them connected right away, and communicate regularly and even over communicate.
We have several CPAs in the group, and I've gotten 6 or 7 questions. I'm going to group them into 2 different buckets. One was around, if I pursue the CMA, do you know if just the process of studying for the CMA automatically qualifies as CPE that I can use for my license requirement? And then the other was around, hey, I'm a CPA or a high potential employee as a CPA. What's the additional value of being a CMA as well?
Let me take that one first. So the CMA and CPA can be very complementary. And the CPA, I'm going to make this very generalized, but the focus is really on compliance, isn't it? It's on, financial statement preparedness, audit compliance, taxation. It's very compliance oriented, really important role for a company to have somebody focusing on those things. The CMA, though, is more of the internal finance person. They are focusing, like we saw, on the planning, budgeting, forecasting, the risk management. So it's a little bit broader based, but it's very focused on the company and creating value and driving strategy. So together, these can be very valuable certifications. There's a little bit of overlap between the two, but not a lot. We go much deeper into the costing and performance measurement, and as you saw, the risk management, the capital budgeting. So we do go deeper into a lot of the managerial accounting types of topics, the things that you are relying on to run the business, and the CPA is focused a lot on the external reporting, both on tax and financial statement preparedness. The other question was about the CPE. Studying for the CMA does not necessarily provide CPE credits, because to get NASBA CPE, you have to have a license and things like that. But once you become a CMA, if you have both certifications, your CPE that you earn can be applied to both of them. CMA has 30 hours of CPE per year. Most CPAs have a 40-hour per year. You do not have to get an incremental 30 hours for your CMA. You can just apply anything that you apply toward your CPA toward your CMA.
Matt, I got a question for you, and then Sarah. So Sarah, I'm giving you a heads up that you're going to get a question in like 30 seconds. Matt,
Yes.
You mentioned that you have an annual conference. At the last conference, who was the best speaker at the conference?
We had many great speakers, many great keynotes, many different tracks to apply to people in all areas of the business, but I'd have to say, far and away, Robert Bendetti was probably the best, most engaging, biggest draw that we had this year, and probably the number one reason that people win from all over the world.
Yes.
Good answer. Sarah, bunch of questions around. I'm going to group them together for our last question. Hey, I've got a high potential employee that I want to support, or I have a diversity candidate that's amazing that I want to support. I want to help them. I want to promote them and support them on a journey to the CMA, but I can't get them to do it. How have you found success convincing those amazing people who you want to support, but maybe have life or conflicts, or maybe just courage, lacking of courage to go for it? How are you getting those people to pursue the CMA and better themselves?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a tough one, right? I think coaching and mentoring comes in, strongly there, right? But I think if you can show some data around, like some of the stats that Lisa shared, if we can send out the link to the article for J&J in the training magazine, like use some empirical evidence to show like the benefit of this. And then also, I don't know if you're willing to financially support or provide sort of other ways to support this person in pursuing their certification, whether that's afternoons free to study or time off to take the exam, whatever that might be. Try to remove those roadblocks as best you can in a practical way.
Oh, that was strong. That was fantastic. We're at time. I've got a bunch of questions we're not going to get to, but that was really well done. Lisa Bowden and Matt Workman, Brandy Bond, Sarah, thank you so much for bringing all this knowledge. I'm absolutely stealing grow gigs. That's amazing. And learning, growing, doing. Those phrases I will be stealing immediately and using them today. And hey, this is something we're all working on. We all complain about upskilling the next generation, equipping and enable our future leaders, and this is how you do it. This is how you're a real, true champion of the next group of folks. And the controller is transaction and the past, but the CFO is transformation and the future. So we got to equip people with things like the CMA. Super fan of the CMA and the organization, and their annual conference is amazing. The CMA is amazing, and I'll be sending out links. Please like, comment, and share my content on LinkedIn. And we're at time. We're exactly 9 o'clock. Everyone have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.